Chapter 1. The Story of Village Palampur. Scene of a Village. Overview. The purpose of the story is to introduce some basic concept relating to production, and this we to throw a story of a hypothetical village called Palampur. The narrative is partly based on a research study by Gilbert Ethan of a village in Bulandshahr district in western Uttar Pradesh. Farming is the main activity in Palampur, whereas several other activities such as small-scale manufacturing, dairy, transport, etc. are carried out on a limited scale. These production activities need various types of resources, natural resources, man-made items, human efforts, money, etc. As we read through the story of Palampur, we will learn how various resources combine to produce the desired goods and services in the village. Introduction. Palampur is well connected with neighboring village and town, Raiganj and Big Village. In 3 kilometers from Palampur, an all-weather road connects the village to Raiganj and further on to the nearest small town of Shahpur. Many kinds of transport are visible on this road, starting from bullock carts, tangas, bogies, means wooden cart drawn by buffaloes loaded with jagari means good and other commodities to motor vehicles like motorcycle, jeeps, tractors and trucks. The village has about 450 families belonging to several different castes. The 80 upper caste families own the majority of land in the village. Their houses, some of them quite large, are made of brick with cement plastering. The SCs means Dalits comprise one-third of the population and live in one corner of the village and in much smaller houses, some of which are of mud and straw. Most of the houses have electric connection. Electricity powers all the tubewells in the fields and is used in various types of small business. Palampur has 2 primary schools and 1 high school. There is a primary health center run by the government and 1 private dispensary where the sick are treated. The description above shows that Palampur has fairly well-developed system of road, transport, electricity, irrigation, schools and health center. Compare these facilities with those in your nearby village. The story of Palampur, an imaginary village, will take us through the different types of production activities in the village. In villages across India, farming is the main production activity. The other production activities referred to as non-farm activities include small manufacturing, transport, shopkeeping, etc. We shall take a look at both these types of activities after learning a few general things about productions. The story of village Palampur. Organizations of production. The aim of production is to produce the goods and services that we want. There are 4 requirements for production of goods and services. The first requirement is land and other natural resources such as water, forest, minerals. The second requirement is labor, that is, people who will do the work. Some production activities require highly educated workers to perform the necessary tasks. Other activities require workers who can do manual work. Each worker is providing the labor necessary for production. The third requirement is physical capital, that is the variety of inputs required at every stage during production. What are the items that come under physical capital? Comment this. A. Tools, machines, buildings. Tools and machine range from very simple tools such as a farmer's plow to sophisticated machines such as generator, turbines, computer, etc. Tools, machine, buildings can be used in production over many years and are called fixed capital. B. Raw materials and money in hand. Production requires a variety of raw materials such as the yarn used by the weaver and clay used by the potter. Also, some money is always required during production to make payment and buy other necessary items. Raw materials and money in hand are called working capital. Unlike tools, machine and buildings, these are used up in production. There is a fourth requirement too. You will need knowledge and enterprise to be able to put together land, labor, and physical capital and produce an output either to use yourself or to sell in the market. This these days is called human capital. We shall learn more about human capital in the next chapter. In the picture, identify the land, labor, and fixed capital used in production. A factory with several laborers and machines. Every production is organized by combining land, labor, physical capital, and human capital, which are known as factors of production. As we read through the story of Palumpur, we will learn more about the first three factors of production. For convenience, we will refer to the physical capital as the capital in this chapter. Farming in Palumpur. 1. Land is fixed. Farming is the main production activity in Palumpur. 75% of the people who are working are dependent on farming for their livelihood. They could be farmers or farm laborers. The well-being of these people is closely related to production on the farm. But remember that there is a basic constraint in raising farm production. Land area under cultivation is practically fixed. Since 1960 in Palumpur, there has been no expansion in land area under economics cultivation. By then, some of the wasteland in the village had been converted to cultivable land. There exists no further scope to increase farm production by bringing new land under cultivation. The standard unit of measuring land in is hectare, though in the villages you may find land area being discussed in local units such as bigha, gantha, etc. 1 hectare equals the area of a square with one side measuring 100 meters. Can you compare the area of a 1 hectare field with the area of your school ground? Comment this. 2. Is there a way one can grow more from the same land? In the kind of crops grown and facilities available, Palampur would resemble a village of this western part of the state of Uttar Pradesh. All land is cultivated in Palampur. No land is left idle. During the rainy season, means kharif, farmers grow jowar and bajra. These plants are used as cattle feed. It is followed by cultivation of potato between October and December. In the winter season means Rabi. Fields are shown With wheat. From the wheat produced, farmers keep enough wheat for the family's consumption and sell the surplus wheat at the market at Raiganj. A part of the land area is also devoted to sugarcane, which is harvested once every year. Sugarcane in its raw form or as jaggery is sold to traders in Shahpur. The main reason why farmers are able to grow through different crops in a year in Palumpur is due to the well-developed system of irrigation. Electricity came early to Palumpur. Its major impact was to transform the system of irrigation. Persian wheels were till then used by farmers to draw water from the well and irrigate small fields. People saw that the electric run tubes could irrigate much. Larger areas of land more effectively. The first few tables were installed by the government. Soon, however, farmers started setting up private tables. As a result, by mid 1970s, the entire cultivated area of 200 hectares (HK) was irrigated. Not all villages in India have such high level of irrigation apart from the riverine plain. Coastal regions in our country are well irrigated. In contrast, plateau regions such as the Deccan Plateau have low levels of irrigation. Of the total cultivated area in the country, little less than 40% is irrigated even today. In the remaining areas, farming is largely dependent on rainfall. To grow more than one crop on a piece of land during the year is known as multiple cropping. It is most commonly way of increasing production on a given piece of land. All farmers in Palampur grow at least two main crops. Many are growing potato as a third crop in the first 15 to 20 years. Different crops: wheat, bajra, sugarcane, potato. Let's discuss. The following table 1.1 shows the land under cultivation in India is in units of million hectares. Plot this on the graph provided. What does the graph show? Discuss in class. Comment this. Cultivated area over the years. Year cultivated area in million hectares. 1950 to 51, 129, 1990 to 91, 157, 2000 to 2001, 156, 2010 to 11, P, 156, 2011 to 12P, 156, 2012 to 13P, 156, 2013 to 14P, 155, 2014 to 15, 155. P. Provisional data. Source: Pocketbook of Agriculture Statistics 2017, Directorate of Economics and Statistics, Department of Agriculture, Cooperation and Farmers Welfare. Year cultivated area in millions hectares. Is it important to increase the area under irrigation? Why? Comment this. You have read about crops grown in Palumpur. Fill the following table based on information on the crops grown in your region. You have seen that one way of increasing production from the same land is by multiple cropping. The other way is to use modern farming methods. For higher yield, yield is measured as crop production on a given piece of land during a single season. Till the mid 1960s, the seeds used in cultivation were traditional ones with relatively low yields. Traditional seeds needed less irrigation. Farmers used cow dung and Other natural manures or fertilizer, all these were readily available with the farmers who did not have to buy them. The Green Revolution in the late 1960s introduced the Indian farmer to cultivation of wheat and rice using high-yielding varieties, means HYVs, of seeds. Compared to the traditional seeds, the HYV seeds promise to produce much greater amount of grain on a single plant. As a result, the same piece of land would now produce far larger quantities of food grains than was possible earlier. HYV seeds, however, needed plenty of water and also chemical fertilizer, and modern farming methods, HYV seeds, chemical fertilizers, etc. Modern farming methods, HYV seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, diesel, farm machinery, irrigation, that is canal, dams, pump set, electricity. Name of crop, month sown, month harvested, source of irrigation means rains, tanks, tubewells, canals, etc. Comment this. Pesticides to produce best result. Higher yields are possible only from a combination of HYB seeds, irrigation, chemical fertilizer, pesticide, etc. Farmers of Punjab, Haryana and Western Uttar Pradesh were the first to try out the modern farming method in India. The farmers in these regions set up tubewells for irrigation and made use of HYB seeds, chemical fertilizers and pesticides in farming. Some of them bought farm machinery like tractors and threshers, which made plowing and harvesting faster. They were rewarded with high yields of wheat. In Palumpur, the yield of wheat grown from the traditional varieties were 1,300 kg per hectare. With HIB seeds, the yield went up to 3,200 kg per hectare. There was a large increase in the production of wheat. Farmers now had greater amounts of surplus wheat to sell in the markets. Let's discuss. What is the difference between multiple cropping and modern farming methods? Comment this. The following table shows the production of wheat and pulses in India after the Green Revolution in units of million tons. Plot this on a graph. Was the Green Revolution equally successful for both the crops? Discuss and comment this. What is the working capital required by the farmer using modern farming methods? Comment this. Table 1.2, production of pulses and wheat in millions tons. Production of pulses, production of wheats. 1965-66, 10-10, 1970-71, 12-34, 1980-81, 11-36, 1990-91, 14-55, 2000-2001, 11-70, 2010-11, 1887, 2012-13, 1894, 2013-14, 1996, 2014-15, 1787, 2015-16, 1794, 2016-17, 2399, 2017-80, 24-97. Department of Agriculture, Cooperation and Farmer Welfare as of February 2018. Modern farming methods require the farmer to start with more cash than before. Why? Comment this. Suggested activity: during your field visit, talk to some farmers of your region. Find out what kind of farming methods, modern or traditional or mixed, do the farmers use. Write a note. Comment this. 2. What are the sources of irrigation? Comment this. How much of the cultivated land is irrigated? Very little, nearly half, or majority, or all. Comment this. From where do farmers obtain the inputs that they require? Comment this. 3. Will the land sustain? Land being a natural resource, it is necessary to be careful in its uses. Scientific reports indicate that the modern farming methods have overused the natural resource base. In many areas, green revolution is associated with the loss of soil fertility due to increased use of chemical fertilizer. Also, continuous use of groundwater for tubal irrigation has led to the depletions of the water table. Environmental resources like soil fertility and groundwater are built up over years. Once destroyed, it is very difficult to restore them. We must take care of the environment to ensure future development of agriculture. Suggested activity: after reading the following reports from newspaper or a magazine, write a letter to the agriculture minister in your own words telling him how the use of chemical fertilizer can be harmful. Chemical fertilizer provide minerals which dissolve in water and are immediately available to plants, but this may not be retained in the Palumpur village. Distribution of cultivated lands. Soil for long. They may escape from the soil and pollute groundwater, rivers and lakes. Chemical fertilizer can also kill bacteria and other microorganisms in the soil. This means some time after their use, the soil will be less fertile than ever before. Source: Down to Earth, New Delhi. The consumption of chemical fertilizers in Punjab is highest in the country. The continuous use of chemical fertilizer has led to degradation of soil health. Punjab farmers are now forced to use more and more chemical fertilizer and other inputs to achieve the same production level. This means cost of cultivation is rising very fast. Source: The Tribune, Chandigarh. 4. How is land distributed between the farmers of Palampur? You must have realized how important land is for farming. Unfortunately, not all the people engaged in agriculture have sufficient land for cultivation. In Palampur, about one-third of the 450 families are landless. That is, 150 families, most of them Dalits, have no land for cultivation. Of the remaining families who own land, 240 families cultivate small plots of land less than 2 hectares in size. Cultivation of such plot does not bring adequate income to the farmer's family. In 1960, Govind was a farmer with 2.25 hectares of largely unirrigated land. With the help of his three sons, Govind cultivated the land, though they did not live very comfortably. The family managed to feed itself with a little bit of extra income from one buffalo that the family possessed. Some years after Govind's death, this land was divided among his three sons. Each one now has a plot of land that is only 0.75 hectares in size. Even with improved irrigation and modern farming methods, Govind's sons are not able to make a living from their land. They have to look for additional work during part of the year. You can see the large number of small plots scattered around the village in the picture. These are cultivated by the small farmers. On the other hand, more than half an area of the village is covered by plots that are quite large in size. In Palumpur, there are 60 families of medium and large farmers who cultivate more than 2 hectares of land. A few of the large farmers have land extending over 10 hectares or more. Work on the fields, wheat crop, plowing by blocks, sowing, spraying of insecticides, cultivation by traditional method, cultivation by modern method, and cutting of crops. Let's discuss in the picture 1.5. Can you shade the land cultivated by the small farmers? Comment this. Why do so many families of farmers cultivate such small plots of land? Comment this. The distribution of farmers in India and the amount of land they cultivate is given in the following graph. 1.1 discussed in the classroom. Graph 1.1, distribution of cultivated area and farmers. Cultivated area, number of farmers, 55.4%, 44.6%, 85%, 15%. Marginal and small farmers less than 2 hectares, medium and large farmers more than 2 hectares. Source: Pocket Book of Agriculture Statistics and 2017 and State of Indian Agriculture 2017, Department of Agriculture, Cooperation and Farmers Welfare as per Agriculture Census 2010 to 11. Let's discuss. Would you agree that the distribution of cultivated land is unequal in Palampur? Do you find a similar situation for India? Explain. Comment this. 5. Who will provide the labor? After land, labor is the next necessary factor for production. Farming requires a great deal of hard work. Small farmers, along with their families, cultivate their own fields. Thus, they provide the labor required for farming themselves. Medium and large farmers hire farm laborers to work on their fields. Let's discuss. Identify the work being done on the field in the pictures on page 6 and arrange them in a proper sequence. Do this. Farm laborers come either from landless families or families cultivating small plots of land. Unlike farmers, farm laborers do not have a right over them. Crops grown on the land. Instead, they are paid wages by the farmer for whom they work. Wages can be in cash or in kind, example crops. Sometimes laborers get meals also. Wages vary widely from region to region, from crop to crops, from one farm activity to another, like sowing and harvesting. There is also wide variation in the duration of employment. A farm laborer might be employed on a daily basis or for one particular farm activity, like harvesting, or for the whole year. Dalla is a landless farm laborer who works on daily wages in Palumpur. This means he must regularly look for work. The minimum wages for a farm laborer set by the government is 300 rupee per day, March 2017, but Dalla gets only raise 160. There is the conversation between Dalla and Ramkali. Dalla and Ramkali are among the poorest natives of the village. It is difficult to find work these days. Only the large farmers hire us, and that too for very limited number of days. Ghanshyam, the large farmer, has just bought a harvester, so we are going to get even less work during the harvest session this year. Last year, I worked for less than 5 months in the whole year. We have tractors for plowing, harvesters for harvesting, threshers for threshing, even for removing weeds. Some farmers spray weedicides. I owe the local money lenders 2000. I had taken 1000 rupees last summer when no work was available in the field. How will I ever repay? I hardly earn enough for 2 square meals. This year I will have to look for work in the brick making unit in Raiganj. My situation is not much better due to past debt. The moneylender refused to give me any loan. Heavy competition for work among the farm laborers in Palampur, so people agree to work for lower wages. Dalla complains about his situation to Ramkali, who is another farm laborer. Both Dalla and Ramkali are among the poorest people in the village. Let's discuss why are farm laborers like Dalla and Ramkali poor? Comment this. Goshaipur and Majuli are two villages in North Bihar. Out of total 850 households in the two villages, there are more than 250 men who are employed in rural Punjab and Haryana or in Delhi, Mumbai, Surat, Hyderabad or Nagpur. Such migration is common in most villages across India. Why do people migrate? Can you describe based on your imagination? The work that the migrants of Goshaipur and Majuli might do at the place of destination? Comment this. 6. The capital needed in farming. You have already seen that the modern farming methods require a great deal of capital, so that the farmer now needs more money than before. 1. Most small farmers have to borrow money to arrange for the capital. They borrow from large farmers or the village moneylenders or the traders who supply various inputs for cultivation. The rate of interest on such loan is very high. They are put to great distresses to repay the loan. Sabita is a small farmer. She plans to cultivate wheat on her 1 hectare of land. Besides seeds, fertilizers, and pesticides, that needs cash to buy water and repair her farm instrument. She estimates that the working capital itself would cost a minimum of 3000 rupees. She does not have the money, so she decides to borrow from Tejpal Singh, a large farmer. Tejpal Singh agrees to give Savita the loan at an interest rate of 24% for 4 months, which is a very high interest rate. Savita also has to promise to work on his field as a farm laborer during the harvest season at 100 rupees per day. As you can tell, this wage is quite low. Sabita knows that she will have to work very hard to complete harvesting on her own field and then work as a farm laborer for Tejpal Singh. The harvest time is a very busy time. As a mother of 3 children, she has a lot of household responsibilities. Sabita agrees to this, though tough condition as she knows getting a loan is difficult for a small farmer. 2. In contrast to the small farmer, the medium and large farmer have their own savings from farming. They are thus able to arrange for the capital needed. How do these farmers have their own savings? You shall find the answer in the next section. Let's discuss the story so far. We have read about the three factors of production: land, labor, and capital, and how they are used in farming. Let us fill in the blanks given below. Among the three factors of production, we found that labor is the most abundant factors of production. There are many people who are willing to work as farm laborers in the village, whereas the opportunities of work are limited. They belong to either landless families or dash. Comment this. They are paid low wages and lead a difficult life. In contrast to labor, dash, comment this, is a scarce factor of production. Cultivated land area is dash. Comment this. Moreover, even the existing land is distributed dash equally or unequally among the people engaged in farming. Comment this. There are a large number of small farmers who cultivate small plots of land and live in condition not much better than the landless farm laborers. To make the maximum use of existing land, farmers use dash and dash. Comment this. Both these have led to increase in production of crops. Modern farming methods require a great deal of dash. Comment this. Small farmers usually need to borrow money to arrange for the capital and are put to great distress to repay the loan. Therefore, capital too is a scarce factor of production, particularly for the small farmers. Though both land and capital are scarce, there is a basic difference between the two factors of production. Dash is a natural resource. Comment this. Whereas dash is man-made. Comment this. It is possible to increase capital whereas land is fixed. Therefore, it is very important that we take good care of land and other natural resources used in farming. 7. Sale of surplus farm products. Let us suppose that the farmers have produced wheat on their lands using the three factors of production. The wheat is harvested and production is complete. What do the farmer do with the wheat? Comment this. They retain a part of wheat for the family's consumption and sell the surplus wheat. Small farmers like Sabita and Gabinson have little surplus wheat because their total production is small, and from this a substantial share is kept for their own family's need. So it is medium and large farmers who supply wheat to the market. In the picture 1.1, you can see the blocker streaming into the market, each carrying loads of wheat. The traders at the market buy the wheat and sell it further to sub keepers in the towns and cities. Tejpal Singh, the large farmer, has a surplus of 350 quintals of wheat from all his land. He sells the surplus wheat at the Raigad market and has good earnings. What does Tejpal Singh do with his earnings? Last year, Tejpal Singh had put most of money in his bank account. Later, he used the savings for lending to farmers like Sabita, who were in need of a loan. He also used the savings to arrange for the working capital for farming in the next session. This year, Tejpal Singh planned to use his earning to buy another tractor. Another tractor would increase his fixed capital. Like Tejpal Singh, other large and medium farmer sales the surplus farm products. A part of the earnings is saved and kept for buying capital for the next session. Thus, they are able to arrange for the capital for farming from their own savings. Some farmers might also use the savings to buy cattle, trucks, or to set up shops. As we shall see, this constitutes the capital for non-farm activities. Non-farm activities in Palumpur. We have learned about farming and the main production activities in Palumpur. We shall now take a look at some of the non-farm production activities. Only 25% of the people working in Palumpur are engaged in activities other than agriculture. One, dairy, the other common activity. Dairy is a common activity in many families of Palumpur. People feed their buffaloes on various kinds of grass and the jowar and bajra and grows during the rainy season. The milk is sold in Raiganj, the nearby large village. Two traders from Shapur town have set up collection cum chilling center at Raiganj from where the milk is transported to far away towns and cities. Let's discuss. Let us take three farmers. Each has grown wheat on his field, though the production is different. Say column 2. The consumption of wheat by each farmer family is the same. Column 3. The whole of surplus wheat this year is used as capital for next year's production. Also, suppose production is twice the capital used in production. Complete the tables. Farmer 1, year 1, year 2, year 3 production, consumption, surplus equal to production minus consumption, capital for the next year. 100, 40, 60, 60, 120, 40. Comment this. This 40, comment this. Farmer 2, production, consumption, surplus, capital for the next year. Year 1, production 80, consumption 40. Comment this. Year 2, consumption 40. Year 3, consumption 40. Comment this. Farmer 3, production, consumption, surplus, capital for the next year. Year 1, production 60, consumption 40. Year 2, consumption 40. Year 3, consumption 40. Cover this. Let's discuss. Compare the production of wheat by the three farmers over the years. Comment this. What happens to farmer 3 in year 3? Comment this. Can he continue production? What will he have to do to continue production? Comment this. 2. An example of small-scale manufacturing in Palumpur. At present, less than 50 people are engaged in manufacturing in Palumpur. Unlike the manufacturing that takes place in the big factories in the towns and cities, manufacturing in Palumpur involves very simple production methods and are done on a small scale. They are carried out mostly at home or in the fields with the help of family labor. Rarely are laborers hired. Misrilal has purchased a mechanical sugarcane crushing machine run on electricity and has set it up on his field. Sugarcane crushing was earlier done with the help of block, but people prefer to do it by machine these days. Misrilal also buys sugarcane from other farmers and processes it into jaggery. The jaggery is then sold to traders at Shapur. In the process, Misrilal makes a small profit. Let's discuss what capital does Misrilal need to set up his jaggery manufacturing unit. Comment this. Who provides the labor in this case? Comment this. Can you guess why Misrilal is unable to increase his profit? Comment this. Could you think of any reasons when he might face a loss? Comment this. Why does Misrilal sell his jaggery to traders in Shapur and not in his village? Comment this. 3. The Sub Keepers of Palampus. People involved in trade exchange of goods are not many in Palumpur. The traders of Palumpur are shopkeepers who buy various goods from wholesale markets in the cities. and sell them in the village. You will see some general stores in the village selling a wide range of items like rice, wheat, sugar, tea, oil, biscuits, soap, toothpaste, batteries, candle, notebook, pen, pencil, even some clothes. A few of families whose houses are close to the bus stand have used a part of the space to open small shops. They sell eatables. Karim has opened a computer class center in the village. In recent years, a large number of students have been attending college in Shahpur town. Karim found that a number of students from the village are also attending computer classes in the town. There were two women in the village who had a degree in computer application. He decided to employ them. He bought computers and set up the classes in the front rooms of their house overlooking the market. High school students have started attending them in good numbers. Let's discuss in what ways in Karim's capital and labor different from Misirar's. Comment this. Why did not someone start a computer center earlier? Discuss the possible reason. Comment this. 4. Transport, a fast developing sector. There are a variety of vehicles on the road connecting Palampur to Raiganj. Rickshawalas, tangawalas, jeep, tractor, truck drivers, and people driving the traditional bullock cart bogey are people in the transport service. They ferry people and goods from one place to another and to in return get paid for it. The number of people involved in transport has grown over the last several years. Kishora is a farm laborer like other such laborers. Kishora found it difficult to meet his family needs from the wages that he received. A few years back, Kishora took a loan from the bank. This was under a government program which was giving cheap loans to poor landless households. Kishora bought a buffalo. With this money, he now sells the buffalo's milk. Further, he has attached a wooden cart to his buffalo and uses it to transport various items. Once a week, he goes to the river Ganga to bring back clay for the butter, or sometimes he goes to Shahpur with a load of jaggery or other commodities. Every month, he gets some work in transport. As a result, Kishora is able to earn more than what he used to do some years back. Let's discuss what is Kishora's fixed capital. What do you think would be his working capital? Comment this. In how many production activities is Kishora involved? Comment this. Would you say the Kishora has benefited from better roads in Palumpur? Comment this. Summary. Farming is the main production activity in the village. Over the years, there have been many important changes in the way farming is practiced. These have allowed the farmers to produce more crops from the same amount of land. This is an important achievement since land is fixed and scarce. But in raising production, a great deal of pressure has been put on land and other natural resources. The new ways of farming need less land but much more of capital. The medium and large farmers are able to use their own savings from production to arrange for capital during the next session. On the other hand, the small farmers who constitutes about 80% of total farmers in India find it difficult to obtain capital because of small size of their plots. Their production is not enough. The lack of surplus means that they are unable to obtain capital from their own savings and have to borrow. Besides the debt, many of the small farmers have to do additional work as farm laborers to feed themselves and their families. Labor being the most abundant factor of production, it would be ideal if new ways of farming use much more labor. Unfortunately, such a thing has not happened. The use of labor on farm is limited. The labor looking for opportunities is thus migrating to neighboring village, town and cities. Some laborers have entered the non-farm sector in the village. At present, the non-farm sector in the village is not very large. Out of every 100 workers in the rural areas in India, only 24 are engaged in non-farm activities. So there is a variety of non-farm activities in the villages. We have only seen a few examples. The number of people employed in each is quite small. In the future, one would like to see more non-farm production activities in the village. Unlike farming, not farm activities require little hand. People with some amount of capital can set up non-farm activities. How does one obtain this capital? One can either use his own saving, but more often has to take a loan. It is important that loan be available at low rate of interest so that even people without saving can start some non-farm activity. Another thing which is essential for expansion of non-farm activities is to have markets where the goods and services produced can be sold. In Palumpur, we saw the neighboring villages, towns, and cities provide the markets for milk, jaggery, wheat, etc. As more villages get connected to town and cities through good roads, transport, and telephone, it is possible that the opportunities for non-farm activities in the village would increase in the coming years. Exercises. Do this and comment this. References. The story of village Palampur.